In this video, I'll be going over how to improve your aim and win more gunfights, whether you're using keyboard and mouse or if you're using controller for both Halo Reach and the Master Chief Collection as a whole. So stick around for that. I'll be going over how to pace your shots, picking the right sensitivity, controller button layout, reticle placement, and also strafing. Towards the end of the video, I'll give a couple bonus tips as well, so be sure to stick around for that. Subscribe for more videos just like this one weekly. Also, be sure to drop a like if you find the video useful or if you just enjoy the content and if you want to help the channel out. The first thing I'll be going over is picking good sensitivity based on your playstyle. Also keep in mind that when you are doing this is a bit of a trial period, so you're going to want to keep the same sensitivity without changing it for at least a week, with at least 1 to 2 hours on that sensitivity per day without changing it during this trial period. So for passive players, you might want to have a slower sensitivity, so you're not going to be moving around as often, so you're not going to need to look around too much. So having a slower sensitivity is going to not be drastic on your playstyle. Also, it does help with your accuracy. Slower sensitivity means better accuracy in any game for that matter. Also, for aggressive players, you're going to want to use faster sensitivity because you're going to be in your opponent's face way more often and it's going to demand you looking around way more. So if someone's behind you, this is going to be essential to have a faster sensitivity. And like I just said, slower sensitivity means better accuracy. So make sure you take this in consideration when choosing sensitivity and adjusting it throughout this trial of finding the right sensitivity. Once you find the right sensitivity, your gameplay improves drastically. Let me know down in the comment section below what sensitivity you're currently playing on. For me, for controller, I play on 9 sensitivity, which is very high, but I am a super aggressive player when I'm using controller. But when I'm using keyboard and mouse, I like to play on 800 mouse DPI and 200 in-game sensitivity, and I find these settings are best for me. So the next tip is strictly for those controller players on Halo. And also another setting related tip. So for you controller players out there, it's important to change the button layout from default to something more efficient. The default button layout is not that good. It's not efficient. Requires you to constantly take your thumb off the thumbsticks to either jump, reload, or do something like that. So I would suggest, from my experience playing Halo, to use either universal bumper jumper, which lets you melee and jump with your bumpers, and also lets you throw grenades with the left trigger, of course, shoot with the right trigger, and aim with the right thumbstick. Also, this lets you toggle the aim if you prefer toggle. Also lets you aim down. And I find this button layout might be weird if you're not used to it, but this is how I grew up playing Halo, and it just stuck with me, and I love playing Halo this way. But if you like more of a traditional button layout, universal aim and shoot is going to be more your style. This lets you aim with your left thumbstick, and I forgot what button is grenade throw, but it's in one of the buttons that require you to take your thumb off the thumbstick. So if you like to throw grenades for your gunfights, this might not be too well. However, this button layout allows you to toggle the aim button as well, which is beneficial in certain situations. If you've gotten this far into the video, be sure to drop a like and show some love and support. It really helps out the channel a lot, and it also tells me you guys find this video helpful or you just enjoy the content. So with that being said, the rest of the tips from here on out will be for both controller and keyboard and mouse, regardless of what platform you're on and which Halo game you're playing on. For this next tip, it's all about pacing your shots. You do not want to spam shoot, because when you do this, for two reasons, it will mess up your aim. For the first reason, if you're playing in a non-competitive playlist, your weapons have bloom, and for a weapon like DMR, this can really hurt you in a gunfight. And also too, if your opponent is strafing a lot, moving around a lot, pacing your shots will make it easier to land your shots and miss less. So in the example, I shot a few times, and once he started strafing in and out of cover, that's when I paced my shot, and it allowed me to become more accurate and time the headshots perfectly, getting the kill. So when you're working on pacing your shot, you just really want to time your shots to either be avoided from hitting your bloom, or to make sure you're not missing any shot, especially on a moving target or when you know you shouldn't be missing. In this next tip, I'll be talking about reticle placement. This is super important, especially for the more experienced players and definitely for the pro players. So with reticle placement, you're gonna have to know your map, the map you're playing on, also choke points on the map you're playing on. So you really want to keep your reticle where you think that enemies are going to pop up. Also, if you're walking around a corner, into a doorway, etc., you want to have your reticle, your gun, being aimed towards where there's most likely going to be an enemy to pop out. Also, don't forget to look around if you're walking into a room or an area that has no teammates, just to make sure there's no one hiding around a corner or something that you might not normally see them in. In other words, you're going to want to anticipate where you think the enemy will be, where the enemy will pop out. Also, when you are following this tip, trying to learn how to do this, you want to keep your aim at the correct height of where the enemy is going to be. Also, for the best kill time, you're going to want to be pre-aiming towards the head of your enemy, and that's going to guarantee you faster kills, guarantee you survivability, and to die less, which is what we're all trying to do when improving our gameplay in Halo. Also, this is a very common mistake when first starting out in Halo or just playing any shooter game. Walking around aimed down. Sometimes I catch myself doing this, and as soon as I catch myself, I don't do this. So you want to keep your reticle and your gun aimed at head level or chest level, and you do not want your crosshairs for any reason to be aimed at the floor unless you're at a height advantage and you're peeking a ledge. Other than that, never want to be looking down. The reason why this is super important is because it takes 5 headshots with the DMR to get a kill. So if you're playing a game mode like standard Slayer DMRs, then if you miss one shot against your opponent, it will mess you up and you're most likely gonna die. So having perfect reticle placement, predicting and anticipating where your opponents will be and pop out will guarantee you landing the first shot and dying less, and following all these previous tips will keep your aim consistent. The reason I'm saying this is because the next tip I have here is less about aiming at an enemy, but making yourself harder to hit as a target. However, you do not want to overdo this tip, and here's why. What I'm talking about is strafing. Strafing is important, but you do not want to overstrafe because you could mess up your own aim. You really want to focus more on tracking your aim onto your target. If you're focused too much on strafing and you're going crazy with it, yes, you're going to avoid getting shot for a couple seconds. However, you are guaranteed to mess up your own shots because unless you have very good multitasking skills, you're most likely not going to be able to strafe and aim perfectly while moving frequently left and right. A common mistake I see people making, especially the newer players, is jumping. Jumping hurts your abilities to strafe. Also, it makes your movement very predictable and you cannot change your movement while you're in air. So it in turn makes it easier to kill you when you're in the air. So you really only want to jump towards the end of the gunfight and make it as unpredictable as possible. So an example would be if your target is a one shot and you're one shot as well, jump in a random direction and try to land your final shot, and this may cause your opponent to either body shot you, which will give you some extra seconds of survivability, or just make your opponent really just miss completely. So all these tips I just mentioned will help you improve your aim, win more gunfights, survive more, and in turn die less and guarantee you more wins. But keep in mind, some of these tips takes more time to master than the other tips, and really you just need some patience to follow these tips and improve your aim in Halo. As promised earlier, I will give you guys a few bonus tips to help you improve your aim or just really survive and make the right choices. So one bonus tip I have for you guys is to always use a weapon that you could scope in. For example, a DMR, the Halo Reach pistol, or the Covenant version of the DMR, which I think is the best weapon and the most accurate over the DMR, because even with Bloom, the Covenant DMR is super accurate and has a faster rate of fire. So whenever you don't have a scoped weapon, try to find one as soon as possible. Try to learn the weapon spawns in the maps, especially if you're playing competitive modes where this is super important. So with that being said, I'll give you guys one last bonus tip for good luck, and that is to use grenades strategically. So if you're in a game mode like Slayer that has grenades in them, whether it's frag grenades or sticky grenades, you're going to want to use them strategically. Throw grenades at your enemies in a way that's going to weaken them enough that you could one hit kill to the head when you get that grenade throw. And this is super essential for gunfights, and I'll make a whole nother video on best ways to win gunfights. And if you guys want that, let me know down in the comment section below. With that being said, I'll see you in my next video. Peace.
With